What are they leading with, Nick? What have they got?
They've got Britain is the best country to be black in, says Kemi. And this is, of course, Kemi Bade, not business secretary. And we've had a lot of chat about race of late because of Suella Braverman's speech where she suggested multiculturalism has failed, although I think she was quoting Angela Merkel. And there's been this massive misunderstanding about what multiculturalism is. And, of course, she meant it's the failure to integrate.
Yes.
So you can argue there's a pedantic point that why is it a failure if it's already about the lack of integration? But there's been a misunderstanding. When she said failed, she meant it's not led to any good outcomes for society. That's what I obviously took.
I mean, it's a sort of ideological position that ethnicities are siloed to an extent,
instead of assimilating. So there's this constant misunderstanding. So Kemi here is saying, no, look, this is you should be proud of the country rather than ashamed, and that's what Conservatives want, and that it's a great place to be black and so on, and that people see people, not labels. And obviously she's done very well. So and let's be honest, two things. One, that's obviously a more positive outlook than I can't achieve anything. So aside from what the facts are for a second, it's obviously a much better, even if it's delusion, let's say, it's a much better delusion to have. And secondly, this idea of multiculturalism, Peston says, he quotes this, I tell my children this is the best country in the world to be black because people see people, not labels. He said, which some will see as a statement that multiculturalism has been a triumph, not the failure asserted by Suella Braverman. And that, once again, is a complete misunderstanding that Braverman said we should be assimilating. And Kemi's saying the same thing.
It is, to be fair, the risks associated with sound bites, isn't it? It's very hard to use a single word that people might understand differently, and if you don't get the space to explain exactly what you're trying to say...
Well, even Sunak had a different interpretation of it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to know whether it's a good country to be black in, regardless whether you're in Manchester, Birmingham or London, of course, because that might be...
Maybe you have to be the business secretary. I don't know.
Sorry, Simon, but I feel like as you say this, we often, just adding to what Nick was saying, we often get colour and culture mixed up terribly.
Yeah.
Because you can be of a culture and be any colour.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
And I think that's the point. Birds of a feather will flock together, and I'm not sure... We're essentially kicking ourselves for human nature.
Well, it's not even just colour, is it? A lot of people have, for instance, noticed that you get very different educational outcomes at the moment between Caribbean, people of Caribbean, recent immigration and Nigerian, for instance. You know, so, like, to the naked eye, to a lot of people, they would be exposed to exactly the same level of racism and have different outcomes. I think there is, obviously, always that thing of we assume that it's so much better in Europe, but it really isn't. I mean, that's where we're often...
Because that's what we're told.
Yeah. But all kinds of surveys suggest that actually this is, you know, if you're going to compare like with like...
Have you seen Sweden lately?
I haven't, no.
It's a multicultural nightmare. And that's not just me. That's you know, that's not an over-exaggeration. They are having tremendous problems there.
Yeah.
Did you write Suella's speech?
I did, yeah.
Then you wrote Donald Trump's speech in 2016. Here, we've seen what happened on Sweden last night.